If you were suddenly today in charge of the country, you could do whatever you wanted. What few things would you do first?
The first couple of things, I really don't know. That's a good question because I never thought about that. What would I do? I think I would make everybody by law just wake up that morning and give whoever's in your home a hug. Because I think everybody today need a hug.
Thank you for agreeing to do this strange project.
No problem. I only get involved in strange projects.
Okay, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, I can hear you now.
I flipped, but you didn't flip.
Yeah, maybe try pressing some buttons then.
All right,
Yeah.
let me see what buttons I got on the bottom here.
I tried to log in with my laptop, but it kind of froze, so I had to restart it. But um,
Stop video, mute, reactions, chat. I'm looking right now for that sucker.
Oh, here we go. I found a little stupid button.
Okay, there we go. Figured it out. All right, sorry.
Just a quick intro. This is just a loose project where I'm interviewing a lot of different people, different backgrounds from around the country. I like to let the interviewees kind of direct the interview. So I'm going to ask fairly vague questions, and whatever you say, I'll try to run with that. So, who are you?
Oh, like where was I born? My background type thing.
It's part of the vagueness thing. It's wherever people take it. It's always kind of interesting.
Who am I?
My name's LaShonda Mayberry. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, and a sister.
I'm Candace Gilligan. I'm from Canton, Ohio. I'm 41 years old, and I have cats and a dog.
I'm Joe Singletary. Joe Lewis Singletary. I'm 39. I'm originally from McAllen, Texas. I have a wife and 4 girls. I've gone in and out of, I guess, I don't know how deep you want to get into it already.
So my name is Jess Mione. I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I run the Scranton Home Collective. Probably shouldn't say run. It's a collective, so there's a bunch of us.
My name's David Gerard. I'm 64. I grew up in Massachusetts. I got introduced to alcohol and cocaine at a young age, and I rode with it for a long time, up to recently.
Who am I? I've honestly been asking myself that for so long because I feel like, the easy answer is just, hi, I'm Jupiter, or I'm biracial, or I'm queer, or like, I like art, I'm a creative, whatever. But it's like, it's very hard to pinpoint because I feel like we change a lot. We change every day, every year. We lose parts of ourselves, we gain parts of ourselves. And maybe this is too deep of an answer for such a simple question, but I'm also have dealt a lot with like psychiatric issues, mental illness, etc. So I feel like having a very fractured sense of self-identity is very difficult to cope with, especially when I feel like I latch on to identifiers, and it's very hard to separate myself from some of them. So I think the short, simple answer to kind of encapsulate that is, hi, I'm Jupiter, because I feel like that encapsulates me. I am Jupiter.
my name is Mel, and I am in the Washington, D.C. area. Yeah, that's about it. I used to work in TV production, and then I moved into marketing. So that's about it.
I'm a man turning 50 this year. I'm originally from the East Coast. I have lived on the West Coast. I originally started this life being conceived as a child of rape. So from that moment forward, my life has always been what's up. My mom, I had to have an answer for something that happened to her. And then upon my birth, they've always wanted that same answer from me, from my dad's action. The more I've figured out about my birth and beginning, the more fractured they've made the reality of my 50-year-old life.
Maruweka, na nani tsatsai na namana kwahada matana. I'm Laura Harris, and I'm a citizen of the Comanche Nation, and I'm the Executive Director of Americans for Indian Opportunity, a national Native-led nonprofit organization.
That's so funny. Sometimes I guess with like my mental health, it's hard to really say. I like struggle with like knowing like fully who I am, and I don't know. I feel like my whole life is just deciding who I am, trying to figure out more of who I am and what type of morals and thoughts I uphold and the way that I treat people and the things that I think about and what I want to do with my life. Like, I don't know, I'm like totally a different person. I think we're all like different people than who we were like 5 years ago or.
Well, I'm just, I was born in Canada. I moved to New York 3 years ago for clinical rotations at Lincoln Hospital and then at New Rochelle, which is a little bit upstate. I completed those rotations and I'm in first year residency. And, you know, I thought they were pretty hard.
Well, I guess I'm a white suburban homeowner who works in the construction field. I grew up, you know, middle class, I guess, you know, the suburbs, Midwest. Got college education, a decent career, few children, an ex-wife, and yeah, just a normal blue collar working guy, I guess.
I guess some of the things that kind of define me in a way is like I'm a traveler, you know, I live in my van and I'd like to consider myself like an artist too. I don't know. I've never met anybody that could just say, like, you were to ask them that question and they would just be like, oh, I'm so and so, and you know, like.
I am Stephanie Sklar, and I'm 46 years old, and I live with my fiance, our daughter, and our two orange tabby cats.
Working has like for me just been something that's a requirement. I do not have a dream job because I do not dream of a career. I do not dream of labor. I dream of doing what I'm happy doing and, you know, paying my bills, and that's about it.
I don't think work is fun. I think the amount of work and the pressure to just be able to survive, like, because the prices of things are ridiculous, and it doesn't add up.
I worked at Walmart. I was a sales associate for sporting goods and for crafts, but I also would help them bring out people as a cashier.
Customer service, like you have to like really fucking like just kiss people's asses, and it sucks.
I actually don't mind retail customer service oriented work because I like people. It's just that some people I very much do not like because they're just fucking rude. And I'm a survivor of many things and also just don't like being talked to any type of sideways. So it has not always worked out.
You have to kind of look a certain way with like those types of jobs too. Because I just shave off my eyebrows and shit and draw them on. And there was just a day that I didn't want to. I was dressed fine. I just didn't have any makeup on. They're like, I don't have any makeup on. And I'm like, because I'm like anybody else. Like, I can not wear makeup if I don't want to.
I enjoy my job. I really do. I moved around a lot. As far as like going around the store to help everybody. I was in my main department, but just because you're you're assigned to a department doesn't mean that's where you stay. You have to help other departments.
I can see myself staying in the maintenance field for a long time. Because, I mean, I'm getting $32 an hour, you know? I mean, that's not bad. I mean, it's not the best, but I'm not complaining, you know?
My relationship to money. I mean, it's nice, but it's not necessary. I've never really made a lot of money, so I guess I don't put a high importance on it like the way everyone else does. Yeah.
Professionally, I'm a graphic designer, and have been for about 15 years or so. Yeah, I mean, I like my job. So right now I work in the marketing department of a financial institution. So, it's kind of interesting to blend art with the banking world.
I was in LA for 10 years. So I worked in post-production for reality TV shows. And then I was in studio tech for a while for live sports shows.
I'm a model, I'm a writer, and I'm an e-commerce seller. So I have a small store on Mercari.
Tell me about those e-commerce stores. I don't really know much about that kind of work.
Yeah, so the good thing about that is that when your regular job doesn't pay a lot, you go ahead and you have like a side thing. So like you can sell your books that you don't want anymore, your CDs, your makeup, stuff like that that doesn't work out, clothes, things like that.
It's stressful a lot of times, and then it's like I have other clients on the side that I'm doing freelance work for. I feel like I'm like on a computer 24/7, which is definitely not healthy.
I couldn't work legally because I had a student visa. So I first started doing survey work, those little online surveys, like swag bucks. It's $1, $2, right?
I do moving gigs. I load trucks. I run with kids that are young. They can't keep up to me. When I turned 60, I got let go from my job. I was too old, they said. I've since had problems trying to find work because I'm 64. Went for 3 interviews the last few days. Every one of them said I'm too old.
I also did reviews. Those are very big. There's a lot of small businesses in America, and because they're competing with other businesses, they need more promotional work. A lot of products shipped to me, like, oh, this is great. This product's great. And I did a lot of those. And I think that got me by in poverty, because there were times when my parents cut me off that I was eating out of trash.
I try to buy storage units. I buy and sell. And that's really what I'm living on right now. A few things that I have left from a storage that I had to remove my items from. I did make a sale earlier for $10. It's just life is just full of fun. You never know what's going to happen the next second, minute, or hour.
Well, I didn't have any money, so I'm like, hey, Dad, Mom, can you give me money? They're like, no. And I didn't want to beg them. So first I went to the church.
I really question the Lord sometimes of what he does, why he does it. But who am I? I'm just one of his children.
But you have to take the metro to get to the church, and it's $6. And I had $0. So, it's like, sneaking, under the line, then sneaking back again, and it's a 30-minute walk to the church.
I'm tired. And I'm tired. I'm tired. I've got a few things to wear. I don't have a vehicle. Still got good car insurance once I pay $12. I do have a phone. I got a promise. I'm always behind a month on my phone because I don't make enough money.
So I'm like just walking one day, and then there's like, there's like, I don't want to say it, but there's like pizzas and shit, right? It's like right on top of it. Because a lot of New Yorkers, you don't finish their food. It's like literally like a salad on top of the thing, right? So I'm like, okay, do I go down the rail, get caught, do a 20-minute walk, or I can there's like food right there. Right? I like there's food right there.
I don't know how it is near you, but the rent here, I really don't know how most people get by without either working 3 jobs or not having like a room full of 3, 4 roommates or something like that just to live.
What I really did to boost my income is I started using ChatGPT in integration with Craigslist gigs. So if someone wants a screenplay edited and worked, and this is like $5,000 screenplay, I'll integrate ChatGPT and then copy paste the screenplay, get the ChatGPT version, and then put my own version and put the ChatGPT. So it's like me and AI working together.
And that's my biggest problem right now is I've tried to open up my phone and have people help me with a car loan or something. Well, I got punked again a few days ago, and they took whatever I had left in my account, which wasn't a lot, but it was $500.
Say somebody wants a whole program written, right? Doesn't know how. I can ask ChatGPT to write that whole program, actually do a website for that person, and he'll pay me $200, and he'll think I'll did it. I mean, it's a little bit fraudulent if you want to be truthful, but it's $200 in like 1 hour.
Totally valid to not really do anything criminal, like over the line, because we do have, in my world, in the poverty world, the will to survive. So if I steal a sandwich, I don't want to hear nothing about it. If I went to go rob a bank, lock me up.
I'm a nursing assistant. I have one child. I'm married. I'm a Christian. I'm a Jehovah's Witness, so I read my Bible every day. I have morals. I try to be a good citizen, a good Christian.
My grandparents are Jehovah's Witnesses, which is really random. They're immigrants from Mexico. My grandmother passed away, but my grandpa is still alive.
I study, I do research. I have my Christian meetings on Sunday. In my ministry, I go door to door to share what I'm learning.
When I was like younger, like it would take me like door to door and doing the thing, doing the Jehovah's Witness thing.
Just teaching ones about the kingdom. That's our hope. We have that to look forward to. And that'll be taking place soon.
My grandma was super cool. At that time, like I was like, oh yeah, I want to be like a Jehovah's Witness forever. I really thought that like that was it. And then I was like, what? Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate Halloween. Fuck this.
I'm a homebody somewhat. I like to sit at home and watch Judge Mathis, and also like to sew and paint.
I know how to sew too, like because of her. She taught me how to sew. It's kind of funny that it went like full circle like that, because like in punk rock, like sewing and DIY is like a huge thing.
Like I started doing my own events when I was 18, booking DIY shows, and I also help run a multitude of different events in the area. So just trying to keep like the music and art scene alive.
And then we have a extended Comanche family here in New Mexico because of relocation. So we have Comanche meetings, or if the elders group from Oklahoma has a trip, we'll host them in our backyard, and all the local Comanches will come. So that's really important.
We're always, I think, just like trying to come together for the common good of youth culture here.
Culture matters, and being connected and knowing who you are is really important. Americans identify more with a football team than they do with some sort of community culture.
I see people who only associate with one community, and that's it. That they only associate with people who exactly like them, think exactly like them, and I'm not like that. I'm a member of many different communities.
I'm still into like punk rock and stuff, and like the music and the community and the whole lifestyle and
tech communities, creative arts communities, even pinball communities. I love playing pinball.
Community, yeah, there's, I mean, I feel like for all Americans, there's so much loneliness, even in numbers, and I think that's the most worrying part. It's the people, again, kind of like stereotype of the very real, epidemic of people who have like hundreds of thousands of mutuals and friends and yet feel like they know no one and they are completely drowning.
And I think that is a hard place for people to be, and makes it difficult to make communal decisions if you don't understand who you are, or where you come from, or don't have a sense of belonging.
Yeah, community drives like the majority of what I do, and helping people to come together and express themselves when they can't really find another outlet for it.
Are you comfortable if I ask follow-up questions about some of the mental illness stuff, and about maybe your fractured sense of self and identifiers that you've identified with? I think that's all pretty interesting.
It's about imposter syndrome with my own mental illness, especially because for some of the severity of it, I not only consider myself, but have been considered high functioning. I hate that fucking term. But like, you don't really see like how bad it is, because I'm not in the middle of the street seeing things that aren't there.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I hear things, see things, and feel things that nobody else does. I have delusions. I don't see them in my brain as much as I used to, but I still hear voices.
Bipolar initially, but they are thinking more borderline now. A diagnosis I've had a very touch and go personal relationship with. I feel like maybe the name could maybe use an upgrade, but it is a very real personality disorder that I feel like I said, helps me feel like A, why bipolar medication hasn't worked, and B, why I feel like I don't know who I am and I don't really know if I ever will.
But I feel things that like somebody punches my belly, and then once in a while I'll feel like something punch my stomach. Now, like I'm not pregnant or anything, but as somebody who's never had sex or anything, I don't know anything about that, but there's no way that I could be feeling a baby kick, is what I'm saying.
But it's still a valid diagnosis, especially because the main difference, as far as I've been told, is that bipolar is usually chemical. It's usually mania, hypomania, depression, etc. Whereas borderline is typically characterized by interpersonal dynamics.
I hear multiple voices. It's not just like couple here or there. I hear them 24/7. Some of them are nice. Some of them are not. Some of them use cuss words or whatever and say how it's like a BS interview, or I call it hearsay because I didn't verify that information for myself.
In general, it's been a lot of, I have all these things going on in my brain making me feel like I'm going to break any second now, but I have to go to work, and Lucas needs to get picked up for soccer practice, and my best friend really needs me to get back to the money I owe them, but then also this person's birthday soon. I feel like
I do receive instructions, so which is a common thing for schizophrenia. Yeah, I have like 99 tabs open on my computer all at once, same time. That's how my brain works, is so many people. So many, say a person is a tab. I have like 99 people in my brain.
If you were alone on an island, you probably wouldn't have borderline symptoms. Now, you might be depressed and anxious, but the difference is bipolar is usually triggered by the chemical workings, and borderline is usually associated with a lot of trauma, which, boy, do I have.
So by the time I was 3 and learned how to talk, I was in front of the government. My mother couldn't understand. The people she was around couldn't understand. So I was instantly awarded the state. When I was 7, I got charged with a felony. So in all the adult lives, I knew right from wrong at 7 years old.
I was exposed to a lot of crazy stuff because my parents were all over the map and had all kinds of different people come through our house. I knew about gay marriage and just about every other social issue you could imagine, which used to freak my teachers out quite a bit.
My parents have always been straight. They've never had any trouble with the law. My dad was a school bus driver, and my mom has started a business with my family. We have an oil fill company that they started in the 70s.
My mother her first language was Comanche. This organization, Americans for Indian Opportunity, that I'm now the director of, she founded it in 1970.
We were latchkey. What did they say? It's a latchkey kid. So you gotta survive on your own.
And a lot of how she was able to do that is she leveraged her position as the wife of a United States Senator. My father was a United States Senator from Oklahoma.
I think my story is, I've never seen this story ever like presented before. So I moved to New York primarily because of doing medicine, right? And then my parents they're very wealthy, right? But they stopped giving me the money. I never seen any parents stop giving their son money to finish med school. It was, quite frankly, very weird. I never seen a story like that.
I was raised in Minerva, Ohio. I'm in Canton, Ohio, so I'm only about 45 minutes to an hour away from Minerva. Me and my family got into an argument, so I ended up moving up to Canton, but I was homeless.
So we just kind of bounced from shelter to hotel to friend to not friend anymore. She stole from us to kind of boyfriend. I don't know what the hell's happening there.
I lived at the local YWCA, which is for women and kids shelter. And they helped me with United Way to get into my own apartment.
And she would just drop us to the library, and we would be there from open to close with our Lunchables and our snacks playing computer games while she tried to figure out how to have somewhere for us to sleep that night.
My mom's side is from Brazil. She came over here in 1967.
My mom was actually born in Italy. And my grandparents.
My mom is Black. My dad is Hawaiian.
My father, his brothers, all my uncles, some of my aunts, their parents, my grandparents, my great grandparents. Like since we came to this country, everybody has joined the military. I signed up the day planes hit the World Trade Center, took the ASVAB, scored extremely high where they told me I could basically pick my job until I got to the colorblind test and failed horrifically. That's when I found out I can't see colors. So that immediately disqualifies you.
Then I'm curious to hear what you're passionate about and why.
I'm passionate about writing. It's just something I've done for a long time. It's a very good way of expressing myself and kind of an escape from the world. And it's an inexpensive way of therapy.
I love writing. Oddly enough, I didn't, so it's awesome that you also write. I love writing. When I say I love writing, I mean it. I unironically have been writing since I could write my name.
What sorts of things do you like to write about?
Movies, beauty, memoirs, stuff like that. Product reviews.
I mainly have written a lot of fiction. Like I said, in my younger years, it was really very much taking my dreams and making characters from it. In recent years, I've actually been very on the personal essay and memoir train.
I love to garden and be in the dirt.
As far as hobbies, I like to go on trails. I like to go out and see nature.
And I've learned that if I am stressed out, just going into my backyard and sitting there or just digging or pulling weeds, watering, whatever, really changes my mental health.
I like to do volunteer work. Oh yeah, that's what I forgot. I have a little Chihuahua dog. She's my fur baby, and she does therapy, and so I do that with the community. I can send you a video a little bit later. We go to like the colleges and just let them greet with the dogs and stuff, and it calms the heart and the mind.
I love motorcycles. Riding them gives you a sense of calmness. You have to be focused. You have to, be aware of your surroundings. You can't really let anything else get in your head. I love building them, working on them. I think they're one of the highest forms of art. It's kind of like a sculpture that can move. And when, you ride them, it's almost like a well choreographed dance if you're doing it right. Everything just kind of flows very smoothly, seamlessly, and it's, I don't know, otherworldly, I guess.
I'm passionate about the arts because I think it takes a lot of courage to pursue a career in that, whether you're an actor, musician, dancer.
I love music, all types. Really, and any talented musician I can respect, even if I don't like their type of music. I can't play anything myself, which is maybe why I admire them so much.
My parents almost read nothing but nonfiction, but all three of us siblings all read science fiction. so I read a lot of science fiction.
I enjoy travel, seeing different cultures, different world views, obviously eating all the different weird foods that you're not going to see in most of America. I don't know. As far as passion, really, like I've dedicated the last decade or so to my kids. That's my biggest passion right now, and just trying to make the world a better place for them in any way that I can.
Been married once, got a beautiful daughter. Never got in contact after our divorce. We were only married a year and a half. My wife cheated on me.
Me and my husband, we're fine. We're best friends. Me and my daughter, the same thing. Everything that I think we have like the typical mother-daughter relationship. She's a teenager, so she's starting to get up there as far as like with the mouth stuff. So
My mom had she had custody over us until the homeless stint, and that's when my dad was like, I'll let you visit them if you give me full custody, otherwise you are never seeing those kids again. Understandably so. At the time, I was obviously upset because my mom, I was her best friend, so complicated there too.
My mother is 93, so I am her major caretaker. I moved in with her a couple of years ago.
Soon enough, like a couple months later, my brother moved in with me. We lived there for almost a year, and now we are in our home with our mom. We've been here for over 7 years.
My dad remarried, so my stepmother takes care of him, which is something that me and my mom thought was amusing and beneficial to our lives.
We're hoping to move out of it because of our neighborhood. Our conditions is really bad. We've already had shootings and people slitting throats, and it's just a bad neighborhood.
Growing up in the Midwest was nice. People were friendly. You didn't really have to lock your doors. Generally, the food was heavy, and seeing cornfields or woods or just playing outside was kind of commonplace until I was a little older and went to the city for the first time. Did I start to see like real poverty and crime rates and I don't know, just what lack of infrastructure can really look like.
We've been in the middle of gunfire and warfare directly, so we're just trying to make it by.
I was born at the very, very tip of South Texas, about 10 minutes from Mexico. Down there, the culture, it's pretty bad. I mean, it's so easy, it's so accessible to get anything, and everybody's always just wanting to top each other. I think I read somewhere that the Valley in 2009 was number two or number three of the most alcoholic places in the country.
I felt like the only time that I could like handle people, or I don't know, just like just working, I had to be like drunk or high and just like really do it. And I know some people who went to work drunk too.
I mean, that's all you do down there. It's either you're working or you're partying. You know, it's either you're working really, really hard or you're living it up over there. That's all it is. And that's all we know.
I'm from Texas, and I lived in a small town there for like most of my life. I was just like, this is so boring, and the town has like nothing to do. So I was just there and not really giving a fuck. I didn't realize that I was just like wasting years, like getting drunk and getting high.
If I'm lying, it's because I'm under the influence of either cocaine or smoking crack cocaine. That is my drug of choice today. I do not drink alcohol. I do not smoke marijuana. I do not inject any needles at this time. In the past 40, 50 years, I did try it at one point. I did not like it. Somebody slipped me a Mickey. They did a speedball with heroin and cocaine. And when I passed out, they robbed me. That was the last I've ever put a needle in my arm.
Never shot up anything. My big thing was drinking, and I loved doing like all sorts of like shit that you don't even like aren't even like drugs, I guess, but you could just get your hands on them like anywhere, like huffing glue or huffing paint thinner or huffing gas or like drinking a shit ton of Robitussin. All that stuff is just to not it. It's just to not like think about what's happening around you.
Yes, they hit us. They shot at us. Well, they not purposely, but they were shooting at somebody else, and they got our house, and they got our car. There's like drugs across the street and just stuff like that. So it's just been crazy.
I mean, I did get to the point where I was having thousands of pills of ecstasy and stuff like that. On a weekly basis, I was making at least $34,000. And that was just 17, you know? And this was not a smart time for me. I mean, a young kid, not even fully out of school or anything, just making that type of money. My parents had no idea.
I have a relatively colorful background, sold drugs, mostly weed, mushrooms, opium, general party rave drugs, I guess.
I did shrooms in New York as well. They have like shroom chocolates. So those were cool, like just walking around.
Committed a few crimes, been to jail more than a couple times. Nothing violent. I didn't like beat women or anything. Like I've never been a thief. Those things bother me.
I have no sex crimes against me. All of mine are drugs related, stealing and dealing and wheeling and dealing.
Instead of like going out and like buying drugs and dealing with dealers or anything, like me and like people I would hang out with, we would just go and steal it from the store.
I've had numerous robberies of a convenience, or I don't know what you call it, burglaries and other and forging checks.
Drunk and disorderly, bar fights, one time for excess of 130 in street racing.
History in auto and mobile citations and crashes. And
they don't like that. They'll tow your car and your bike and whatever else. And I didn't realize that was such a serious crime.
I never realized that, being in charge of a motor vehicle, the responsibilities.
I wound up getting arrested the first time. Nothing major. It was for just a DWI. And then I wound up getting another DWI, like right back to back. So
I hit a man with a car. I deliberately hit a man with a car.
We went to jail for assaulting an officer, which is kind of bullshit. I was drunk at the time and said something he didn't like, and he punched me in the face and knocked one of my teeth out. But in the process, he broke his hand, which is assault on an officer.
So that cost me 5 years. About 2.5 in county and 2.5 upstate.
I've done 5, 9, 10 years back to back. I've done half my life in prison. I'm ashamed for it. I'm afraid to talk about it with people that, think of people that they've been in prison.
So again, all these questions are voluntary, so no worries if you don't want to talk about it, but you're like, there's so much trauma and PTSD, and I'm wondering if you would talk more about like your past experiences that have been difficult.
Sure. For me, honestly, I also say I'm mostly an open book. I feel like if there's a topic that comes up that I'm like, I usually there are specific topics that when they come up, I'll be like, no, thank you. But for the most part, I talk a lot and I talk too much and I enjoy talking. So
I hold everything in. I swallow my pride. I very seldom cry. I very seldom show emotions. I can't say I've lost touch with reality, but I've lost touch with my feelings.
Okay, I guess I have 2 questions then. I'll start with, what do you find most beautiful?
What do I find the most beautiful? When someone is willing to be very vulnerable and honest with me about who they are.
When it comes to my own personal traumas, I've dealt with a lot of sexual trauma. I've been assaulted. I've been straight up raped. I've been molested as a kid.
We're hearing a lot about the boarding schools. They say that there's not a single family in a Native American family that probably was not impacted somehow by boarding school. So my grandmother, she cried around bitterly and wanted to come home, begged to come home. And my great grandmother brought her home, but never talked about it ever again. And so now we think, was she abused?
When I grew up, I came from an abusive father. My father would use the hand where he sexually abused us. They went to prison for it.
Everybody, every single child was abused, and it was the entire staff, and it didn't matter what age or gender you were. It was that widespread.
And that's hard for me to listen to as someone who has a background, unfortunately, with sexual assault and rape.
And here's this woman coming home and then trying to raise her own children with all of this abuse and legacy and post-traumatic stress. And we know that pedophiles create pedophiles, that if you're a victim, there is a chance that you'll become a predator. And so in every effing community, we have predators, our own predators.
It's sick, people, that do that, In prison, they don't survive. If you're a child molester, a pedophile, or a priest, God's not going to save you.
Well, they went to like a church called St. Lucy's, and it was in West Scranton. And like some of the preachers there too. That's like another thing you could look up, like all the scandals that are in Scranton with like all the priests and things. Like there's like a huge undercovering of increased molestation, things like that. Like,
So if you're a product of boarding school, you don't have parenting skills. It's a learned skill. We know that gorillas in captivity are really bad parents because they did not observe and live in an extended family and learn how to breastfeed or handle infants. You don't learn any of those things because you're away from your family.
My parents, they divorced when I was little, and so my dad traveled a lot, and my mom couldn't take care of me. So I ended up living with my aunt and my uncle. The extended family I was with, they were just too busy with their own kids and stuff. So I was kind of just a burden to them.
Do you think this has affected your life going forward, like growing up in that environment?
I don't like children to this day, really. Occasionally some are cute, but I just can't stand yelling and screaming and running around. And so, yeah, I don't have a good view of children usually. And I never wanted children.
Being a parent is a totally different experience, because now you have someone to live for, to do things with, and to try to be your best at.
I basically had to like tell my dad that my mom had been like unfaithful, and I had to like break that to him, which was really hard because I was like 15.
I'm curious, why did your parents cut you off? Did you guys have conversations about that? Was there a specific reason?
To this day, I don't really understand why, because they had the money. I was doing med school, but I think I've researched this a long time ago when I was just so defeated. I think especially South Asian family, there's like a narcissistic kind of family dynamic that you don't really see with other cultures.
My mom brought us up Catholic. My dad liked that when he met my mom, that there was structure in her family. Like, yeah. And he was just drawn to them. So, yeah.
Did you have a good relationship with your mom and dad growing up?
I had a good relationship with my mom. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, another, source of my trauma, her passing has made it even more complicated because she was a terrible fucking parent, but a very flawed person who did care about me and I fully believe with my heart, loved me until the very end. So I think that's how a lot of my trauma has went. It's not been as black and white, I guess, as you see in Law and Order SVU.
And I almost sued them. What they did was financial coercion, right? They financially coerced me into acting because they didn't like me drinking beers. I didn't really go out, but they just used finances. And I think nowadays these things are illegal.
I just remember them like fighting a lot. Like I'd be in like my room and I'd have like my ear to the door. That was like the first time I thought about like running away or like going like traveling. I knew traveling kids at that age too.
Me and my mom, we have a good relationship. I mean, we bump heads at times. I think we're pretty much too much alike. So we probably could be around each other for like a week, and then we're like, oh, okay, I got enough. But I do call her every day. She lives out in Oklahoma. So we have a good relationship.
During COVID, we had a Sunday Zoom, mostly just my immediate family, and then I have a lot of extended family. And my granddaughter has a lot of what we call cousins, Indian way. So she'll say, "Wait, how are we related to them?" And we're related Indian way.
I'm the only child. I don't have any brothers or sisters. I wish I did. A lot of people tell me about their like experiences with their brothers and sisters. I kind of wish I had that.
Then I had a brother Norman and a brother Robbie and a sister Debbie. My brother Norman was killed in 1961. They were building a well up north. Everybody went to eat lunch, and he came out of the house to play. And lo and behold, in the way of the track hoe, the brakes let loose and killed my little brother.
The only reason why I started getting into that is because my brother and my sister, after their jocks, after they went to college, came back, they were real big into that scene. And that's how I got into it. Because I'm the youngest of 3 siblings. So that tells you also a little bit. But I am gonna have to put you on hold. I gotta go do I gotta change my laundry out real quick because there's other people there. I'm at the
That's cool. Yeah.
laundromat. Do you think you can give me another like 5-10 minutes?
Yeah. Take your time. No worries.
All right, cool. I'll be right back.
As years passed, when I was in prison, my older brother was a heavy equipment operator from Massachusetts. Went to Albany, New York, get reclassified. He was on a trainer facility site. Cable shifted. He was on a side rig cable with a boom. Cable snapped, flipped over, killed my brother.
Singletary in the Valley at that time was a very infamous name, I guess you can say, just because of my brother. He was number one on the most wanted list for the FBI's most wanted list when he was 16. Like he robbed a bank down there.
I've got a sister that was everything to my daughter. After I started getting in trouble, she took responsibility of raising my daughter. Over years and time, I kept going in and out of prison. My daughter went her way, and I stayed in prison. I got out of prison, went back to prison. Got out of prison, went back to prison. Got out of prison, went back to prison.
And what was prison like? Again, if you don't mind talking about it.
So I was 21 at the time that I was going in. In South Texas, you go to a place called Garza West, and that's where they classify everybody.
In lockup, I learned the classifications of citizen, whether they be Albanian, Slovakian, Italian, Irish, Sicilian.
They classify you based on your crimes and your history.
And I am at the bottom of it.
Being that my brother was a known affiliate of gang and all of that, they segregated me right when I was getting into the prison system.
You know, Germans and Anglo-Saxons all the way at the front, looking at the back of the line, and there I am. And nobody Sicilian.
They separated me from population. I had to go to where the infirmary was, and they call it the chicken coop. And it's literally just chicken wire. It's not really like jail cell. It's like chicken wire in a big old metal building. It was 115 degrees outside here in Texas. And then inside that place, it almost reached like 140. I got to the point where I was breaking down. It almost broke me, like to where I was losing my mind.
You got to be tough to be in prison. If you're not tough, you get raped, you get killed. I never had either, but I have been attacked and stabbed while I was in prison.
The water cooler that they had in there, they just give you an igloo with ice. That was already boiling hot. Like it was hotter than my body temperature to where it was burning me when I would put it on myself.
You're going to get stampeded. You're going to get stamped to death. Or you're going to get, an eye missing. They pull gold out of your mouth. They used to have these guards in reception centers up in Lake Butler. You pull your gold teeth out.
So at the various stages, in the very beginning, was the psychological warfare that adults will play against somebody for the rest of their life.
You better fight for your life. The weak don't make it, the strong make it, and the strong will flip too.
That's actually one of the places where I met, like a lot of people say they meet Jesus in jail, and I did get really religious because I started praying. Like I felt like I was going to just pass out and die from heat exhaustion. And it just so happened, I said, you know what, God, like, if you can get me out of this, like, I promise, like, I'm sorry. And I can't, like, not even 5 to 10 minutes after I did that, they came and called my name and put me into, like, regular population.
I was an indigent inmate, which means I didn't get money on my book, and I couldn't order from commissary. The only thing I could get was the indigent packet.
If you had no canteen money in prison, you better get a hustle.
If I needed to hold something, I could hold it without getting caught. If I had to transport something, I could transport something.
I did football tickets. I would take canteen for a gambling ticket, New England Patriots against Pittsburgh Steelers, and give an odd, just like Las Vegas.
Everything that you have on the economy and like real world is the same thing inside prison, but governed by themselves. People think that the guards are in charge and all that. No, it's the inmates that take care of everything.
Right. I wrote tickets for a guy that backed these tickets. I would do pretty good, $25, $30 a day. I would bring home in canteen to my locker.
So the person who has the most access to be able to bring stuff in is pretty much the governing body. So they can, if whatever they want as currency that month. You know, a lot of people think that it's always money, but no, some guys will give up a lot just for, like accessory, like a pair of shoes. These are just regular white shoes.
Usually a cigarette is $5. You call it a Cadillac. But if you got a whole cigarette from an officer, that's $5. They went up to $10 per cigarette. And then they broke them up. They call them chubs, little chubs. You get 5 chubs. They're $2 chubs. It's $10.
The budget inside there, you have everything. You have access to everything. And granted, it is because there are crooked guards.
You can get anything you want in prison. I've been at camps, Tomoka, paying the guards, bringing tobacco, dope. Female officers do get paid, They have sex with people that have money, paid officials. And all breaks down to money. Money will break anybody down when you're down.
That's when it comes down to it. It is just a money game, Because, if you really think about it, the warden and everybody has a price, no matter what. It's a private prison. All prison systems are privately owned, pretty much.
You mentioned being stabbed as well. Are you comfortable talking about that?
I've been shanked. They call it shanked. This guy came to me, wanting my canteen, and he started saying, "Listen, I need $5." And that was my mistake. I allowed the $5 to happen one time. And when he came back the second time, he didn't come back talking. He came back poking with a thing. He poked me several times in the gut and everything.
Once I went to prison, my mindset totally switched. So I knew that I was going to see people getting hurt. I knew that I was going to see crime. I made my mind almost shut off to where I was. I don't know. I don't want to say scum of the earth because a lot of people in prison aren't that, but I went that low to where I don't ever want to think like that in my life again. But it's the mindset I had to do to prepare myself because I've seen what it does to people that can't do that. Like my brother. I think he was a very intellectual person at one time. I don't know what happened, but ever since he came out of prison that first time, he was never the same.
I got out and I made the decision I was going to do good. Still took me 10 years to just get into a roommate situation. And how normal was that? Just a roommate situation.
Yeah, that was kind of like what my experience with drugs has been. And I have felt it how it's fucked with my ability to articulate sometimes and to I guess that is articulate, putting words together and stuff, and my memory and things like that, and that kind of stuff.
Every time I turn around and say, I'm doing good, I want to join society. I want to be a part of society. I learned that either my background or my upbringing, which now turns into my skill and education, which is nothing. So I tried to get into the University of Phoenix. Social Security denied me.
It's very interesting also because I kind of went from McDonald's meals and hopefully the lights stay on this month to at 14 or 15 when my dad had finally got his certifications, his bachelor's, whatever, and was working and still is working at FERC doing, auditing for 6 figures. There's a dissonance to it. It's we lived in a really, nice ass house, honestly. While it didn't feel so nice as I got more siblings and it got very cramped, it still is a very nice house, very nice neighborhood. It was now, we can't get you this phone, we can get you this phone, instead of, well, maybe shoes next Christmas, maybe new shoes, you can glue them this year.
When I found out that my now ex-wife was pregnant, I had to kind of reevaluate, all right, obviously can't do drugs, can't sell drugs, can't have that around it, risk losing your kids.
Let me see. Experience that changed my life. I want to say having my daughter, because it took a long time for me to get pregnant. I think we had been married maybe 13 years. I always wondered what motherhood was like, and it's kind of it motivated me to be a better person.
And also had cut out a lot of my friends at the time because, they weren't willing to give that up because, that's up to them. That's their life. It's their decisions.
I don't hang with a lot of people. If I hang with somebody else, it's just a buddy or an older gentleman. I try to stay with sober people.
I told them very clearly, you can't do these types of things around my kids. You can't be around if you're going to show up in those conditions. You can't just, I can't have this in my life.
The people I run with, the few people that I do be accountable, they don't know my past. But I keep it like that, only because I don't want to open that door up and scare them at this point in time. I've only become friends with people recently, that I know that I can tell them, listen, I need something to eat. And they're going to go get me something to eat.
So yeah, I do reevaluate, stops going out partying, stops heavy drinking with the boys on the weekend, got a slower motorcycle, couldn't quite give it all the way up, but slowed down in that aspect too. Went from high-end race bikes to nice, big, loud, slow Harleys.
I'm actually sober now. I'm about to come up on my 100 days sober, and I feel so much better.
What's the longest amount of time that you've been sober since you were young?
Probably nothing. A day. Again, my girl stayed with me, the same one that picked me up from prison 8 years ago. We met on a dating service while I was in prison, while we had phones. I live on a breathing machine right here. I strapped this baby to my head. I live in my own room, and this is my girlfriend's house. We can't even sleep together because I snore so loud that I suck the walls in. I've lied from her. I've stolen from her. And she's about on her last string with me. But she's hanging on in hopes that I can recover and be honest and not lie. I lie in the past. I try not to lie anymore.
I found a place in the mountains. It's great. Slowly turning, but it's great. I got my girlfriend to come out here with her 2 daughters, and it's been 12 years. We have a 3-year-old and 2 wonderful grandsons.
In a certain way, it was maybe good for me to be in poverty and doing med school and doing this, because not a lot of people can do these things, right? Because you don't go under the pressure, eating from the trash in New York. While doing med school, it's unheard of.
Now I am overcoming those challenges. I am working on a master's degree for business administration. This will be my 7th program for master's degrees that I'm working on. So I'm hoping to consolidate everything into one master degree.
I chose then to go back to school, get another degree, try to just make as much money as I could so I wouldn't be living in an apartment in the city trying to raise a kid and sending them to inner city public school. Obviously that's not what's going to be best for my kids. The lack of opportunity, the lack of passion from the teachers, the high crime, it's not for me. It's definitely not for them.
I remember going to school and I took 5 hydrocodones and I slept all day at school and nobody noticed. I went through my first period, I fell asleep. They woke me up, I went to the second one. All 8 periods of school, I just slept. And all they did was wake me up and tell me to go to the next fucking class.
I feel like I was a little troublemaker in school, growing up, and I mean, I got good grades and stuff. I was really academically inclined. I wanted to learn a lot, but I did not like rules.
I went to military high schools and boot camp every summer. I liked it. I liked the structure, the discipline. I liked how everything was regimented and everybody had a purpose and a job to do.
I didn't like when things didn't make sense to me. I should say. Otherwise, I was fine. But if things didn't logically make sense to me, I would ask why all the time.
I had teachers who would say that, oh, well, you couldn't blame the slave owners from having slaves because they couldn't afford to pay them. And in 4th grade, I jumped up and started screaming. I got sent to the principal's office.
You mentioned the education system when you were talking about your kids. I'm wondering if you have more thoughts that you would want to share on that.
Yeah, I feel like we've got such a vast amount of money tied up into it, but the testing scores keep getting worse and worse, and they seem to be dumbing it down more and more every year.
And that our U.S. education system fails us in knowing who Native Americans are and other people of color, but also fails us in how government works and civics.
They stopped teaching cursive in most schools because I don't know why. I've never heard a good explanation for it. But if you can't read cursive, you can't read the Declaration of Independence, you can't read the Constitution, you can't read the Bill of Rights.
And, this is what they're trying not to allow people to teach. But the culture of the United States was created from violence and conquest and slavery. We can't go back and change it. We can't cry about it now. We just have to say it out loud and admit that that's what it is.
They are teaching to the mean and not to the more educated, or not even more educated, more gifted students. And they don't want to, make anybody feel bad and, leave children behind.
And we're performing under marks for our education.
So they're almost incentivized to make it easy enough to get everybody through the school system because that's how they secure their funding.
So here in Albuquerque, we give out backpack school supplies because, of course, our U.S. school system does not adequately provide the material that a teacher needs to teach a school.
And that's another thing. People need to have more resources like a computer, a free phone, learn how to do email. There's some people that are still illiterate in our world.
But why in the world is the richest country in the world not provide supplies for their kids?
Everything is about money in the state of Florida, whether it's prison, whether it's county police, your city police, your sheriff's department, your state police, every type of officer, judges, lawyers, they're all crooked. And you're going to take that to the bank.
Maybe we can shift gears a little bit towards the asking about politics as opposed to just your personal life. So once again, I'll try to start as vaguely as possible. How do you feel about the political landscape?
Ooh.
Toxic wasteland. Absolute toxic wasteland.
I think it's unhealthy. Yeah.
It's fucked. I think it's always been fucked, though.
So I would say like my views have changed over time where like I think I used to just be like I'm gonna be like I'm a Democrat no matter what type of thing. And now I think it's just evolved more into I can't believe that politics exist. Like it's just like such a clown house to me.
I think it's a joke. I think both sides are equally corrupt. They're all so disconnected from common people.
So it's become a whole disillusionment, I guess. And it's like this realization that feels like it's an illusion of choice. There's no freedom of choice. It's an illusion of choice.
I mean, it's like two puppets held up by one master. It's on two sides of the same coin, if you want to say. They're all in bed together.
And they don't tell us about it because it's all backdoor shady private view.
In general, the whole thing's just a mess.
My political views is our world is a mess. There's people in fear of their lives in schools and churches, on the streets, and going outside of their home. Me, I live 1 foot in the grave and one on the ground.
I don't have a good solution. There's no way to vote your way out of this anymore. The only solutions I see are not pretty ones.
Because when it comes down to it, we all know that, yeah, we vote, but it's like, what's the purpose? I mean, I get it. We still need to, but the system does need to change.
I just think there's just a better way. And, I'm not a fucking, like, political, like, scientist. Like, I don't know the fucking, like, all the words and all the like what exactly we should do. I'm not like immersed in politics, but I have enough like humanity, I feel like, to like that shit inside me that just feels like this isn't right and there's got to be something different.
I think lobbying should be completely outlawed. But I think the two-party system itself should be outlawed. And everybody should be forced to run on their own ideas, their own philosophies, and their own merit.
I think a lot of people have been for a long time just like upset about the two-party thing, and I know, like, this, like, to me, like, they just like purposely make it that way so you don't have to actually like look into issues, and you don't have to read up on anything. And you could just go like, I am this, and everybody in this party thinks this way, so I should vote this, or else this is going to happen. And it's like, I'm tired of choosing like the lesser of two evils type of scenario. Like, I wish that there was just like a real debate with like a lot of different options and a lot of different viewpoints.
Not, just everybody kind of towing the party line and small fractures within their little parties to make them seem different. Obviously, I think there should be term limits on everything. Supreme Court, maybe. They're kind of supposed to be more of a rock, but definitely in the Senate, definitely in the presidency, there should be age restrictions, perhaps.
There should be an age limit on political people in the sessions in the House and in a presidency. Biden, seen him on TV hesitating and stumbling, and he was a puppet. Everybody else ran his position, and he sat back and took the credit. And when it was time for him to speak, he didn't know where he was or what he was talking about.
I think we need a leader that's very consistent for like 8 years, and maybe fairly young as well.
These people are well off and can retire with millions of dollars that they have, and maybe it's the greed.
They can vote to give themselves raises. They talk about giving everybody better health care, but they have better health care than everybody else. I mean, it would be nice if they kind of practice what they preach once in a while. And they want everybody to be on, some sort of Medicaid or something like that. That's what they should be on.
They only enrich a certain few at the top. They don't speak to me. They don't help me. They don't further me.
I just feel like, yeah, we can probably run for like local politics and hopefully make a positive change, but I just don't know how many people really didn't come from wealthy upbringings that are like leading the country in some way.
We've got to take money out of politics. It's ridiculous. People who work on strategy for campaigns and advise campaigns, I know these people. I love them. Most of them are great folks that I've worked with, but we shouldn't be getting rich off of elections.
They shouldn't be making as much money as they do because they're making well above what the average person makes. If they want to talk about serving their people, they should maybe make what the average person in their, state, county, region, district, whatever. They should be forced to live at the same level as everybody else, so they experience the same problems and have a better concept of what people are actually going through.
I don't know if there's going to be like a lot of, especially people in their 20s and 30s that are really gung-ho about getting out there and voting, actually. I think they're seeing through a lot of things.
I have a lot of thoughts on this. It's something I've especially, like I said, struggled with because trying to talk to leftists, especially in Baltimore where I reside, is painful because they're going to say some shit about Kamala and Palestine. And I'm like, yeah, the genocide's awful. What are we saying? We're not going to vote for the person who is not a felon, a convicted rapist, and all those other people because of the U.S., not just Kamala's, association with Israel. And this predates her. This predates Obama. This predates Bush. This is some Eisenhower shit.
As far as the lady that just got, I'm more power for a woman to be in there, really am at this point in time in my life and in our world,
I'm all for a woman president, and I'm glad that Kamala Harris has stepped up to it. I've always wanted Hillary Clinton because I thought she was the most qualified.
And I'm more democratic in how I think as a person.
I used to be a Democrat, but it wasn't really working for me anymore, and I didn't like how I felt. I was just always in tune to everything that the media was telling me. And it just got me very anxious and upset, and I didn't know what to do with that. And I just didn't like how I felt, so I stopped. And I started unplugging from it and just thinking for myself and just looking things up myself.
You mentioned over text you have a public sector job, and that's why you want to be anonymous for this interview. I'm wondering if you are comfortable talking about your job and maybe what people's political opinions are there.
You go through middle management, it's a little more divided. There's some more Republican leaning, some more Democrat leaning, and that's good. It's good to have that if there can be a discourse. But then you get to the boots on the grounds, the laborers, the union guys. I think they're starting to lean a lot more Republican.
As my political view, I've always been so I thought I was a Democrat until Bill Clinton lost office, and then I turned Republican only because the work that my family has. I mean, Republican is really where it's at. I mean, it's oil field business,
I had met my partner, and I realized we didn't have the same political views, but we had the same approach. I was just going from the center to the center from the left, and he was going to the center from the right. And I thought that I really would have missed out on a really great guy had I just been so focused on the politics and he's got to believe this and he's got to feel this way, or else it's not going to work out.
I used to like Trump. I think I liked him the best in 2015 when he just started out because he was kind of like a fighter. It's like, but I think even now it's getting a bit ridiculous.
There's a lot of things. I am a Trump supporter. I mean, I don't like the guy on like his views or whatever, but I like how he went to take on the government in a business aspect.
Tell me more about what you liked about him.
Well, back in those days, there weren't that many like AIs and there wasn't that much bias and there wasn't so many sound bites and people like manipulating you. So it was kind of like, oh, this guy's an entertainer. And it was more like, okay, it seemed more authentic.
Trump is very vindictive. He's a professional liar.
He's very flawed, and I realize that, but I think he's very honest about who he is, like him or not.
He's a liar. So what you get out of a liar is what you get out of life.
A lot of guys don't even necessarily love Trump. They just hate the other side so much.
Whereas the Democrats always tend to go, oh, well, we're on the side of angels. We follow the right things. We believe the right things. And they act like they're pure as the driven snow when they're pretty sleazy and corrupt.
I think that goes maybe both ways, I guess. The left hates the right and the right hates the left.
Why can't we be fucking nice to people? I feel like that's the shit that pisses me off. Why is no one nice anymore? While the boomers can shut the fuck up about back in my day, because back in your day, you thought it was okay to have Sunday brunch while a black person was hanging from a tree. I don't want to hear about your day. However, that Southern hospitality, we need that everywhere. We need kindness, even though you don't have to be a kiss ass. Why are we not cordial? What happened to manners?
I'm passionate about empathy. I think that's what we need in this world more and more, to have used the technology we can use in even forward thinking, and also somebody that can love and help other people. Kindness.
We do this thing, as I said, not even as just leftists, but even with like people who are ignorant, people who are sometimes outright fucking bigoted or like racist or whatever, where we just kind of completely humanize them. And again, I'm also not going to be like the annoying bitch to say like, oh, this is why racism or homophobia exists. No, that's like, it exists because of systemic, oppression. That's why it exists. However, I do think we sometimes act surprised when being an asshole to someone who already doesn't see you as a person does not help your fucking cause.
If we villainize these people, then how will we ever move forward or cure it or make change? Because we got to love them. They're our relatives. And it's like sometimes you see on Facebook when somebody's ranting or raving, seeing people who then will post, I'm sorry, who hurt you? And do you need a hug? That's how I kind of try to feel about those folks who don't want to teach real history and who think that poor people deserve what they get and don't need help up.
I just think everyone wants to be acknowledged. And so I think everyone wants to have a say. So I consider myself more in the center. because I understand both sides, but I lean more liberal.
I'm curious then, in what ways do you feel like you're in the center, seeing both sides, and then in what ways do you feel more liberal?
I'm in the center just because I think everyone has a right to their opinion, and there's usually a reason why they think they do.
I heard a story about a therapist who worked with QAnon conspiracy victims who wanted to get out of it and move on. And he said that he found that a lot of his, good number of his clients, that a trauma happened that initiated their looking or joining for something.
And they want to feel a sense of community. So I think for instance, that January 6th riot, I think those people were really passionate, and it was just kind of a bonding experience for their whole group to do that. That's what I feel, that it's just they just miss that kind of friendship and camaraderie.
And I feel sorry for them that they grew up in such a way that they don't feel love for their fellow people. But that's the American system can do that to you.
I still need to work on that on myself, like trying to go up to like even somebody, a homeless person on the street and just chatting with them. But I want to get to that point, like to where we're all just cool with each other. Like no matter who you are, how poor you are, how rich you are, you know. But I know that's never going to happen because there's always an alternative motive or ulterior motive. Is it ulterior? I don't know. But even if it's something small, even if it's just that they want to talk to you to get a drink of water.
I'm curious to hear you talk more about like your attraction to Trump within that context.
Okay. I mean, really, like it's literally just the fact that he's taking it to a business level as far as the economy. Other than the economy, all his other views suck. Like really, like he's just a horrible person. But I mean, on the other aspect, the Democrats are just babying people, and me as a personal level, I don't like that.
To get food stamps, you don't know nothing about how to get them. Forget it. I'm still trying to get them after me getting scammed a while back ago. I can't even figure out how to get on a website. That's how stupid I am, I guess.
Some of these state programs that we give people, like, that's why I'm saying as far as what they're taking away the taxes, it's going to hurt people, but it's going to force them to learn to have to try to take care of themselves,
They say there's places where you need help, but you know what? Some of us need help, which means you might have to hold my hand to help me. I'm not ashamed today. I need help in a lot of areas of my life. And one is, I need to get what I'm entitled to.
I've never had anybody been able to give me handouts. So I guess I've always had to work for my thing, even when I was in the slums, me and my family, we started in the trailer park. And then as far as Trump, I mean, I think had we not had Trump, I think we'd still be thinking that the world is okay, and that our government's still helping us out, when in all reality they weren't, because he made people realize that the government is a business, it is still a money game. And if you really want to dive into it, like I go deeper and like I start thinking about like the Rothschilds and like the old kings and queens, like they still technically have control of everything.
I know that they know that I know that they know. It shows right now. And this, see, look, muffling, they're straight muffling.
He who controls the media controls the masses. So yeah, we have access to use the internet, but I mean, it still can be censored if they really wanted to. If they wanted to shut down their towers, we'd be SOL,
Welcome to my life. You were saying to ask me who somebody is. This is a great introduction. And in a lot of ways, allowing the reverberation and feedback shows the people the resonance of the blockage that I get. It's so weird. I'm just trying to have a conversation with a guy I don't even know about a subject he barely knows. So who knows you and I are going to have this conversation?
I guess that's why also in general conspiracy theories kind of exist, because there's so much like censorship and information that is like hidden, lost, misrepresented, or straight up lied about, that how can you be surprised that people are filling in the blanks with shit that you've already fucking done? Like, we know what you're up to, so whether it's something you've actually done or similar to what you have done, can you be surprised?
So if you bring up a straw man and, you whip out the phone and you show somebody right there with their birth certificate, their social security card, they still can't see it.
There's so many things that we thought were like conspiracy theories that actually like came out to be true, and the government is not to be trusted, and a lot of people know that, but there's not very much being done about it.
So each person who has a child goes and get a birth certificate, mandated since 1933. Well, those are actually bonds that can be found on fidelity.com. But if you bring it up, it's the huge, crazy conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy theory in what way? Like, Reagan did crack way and Bush did 9/11? Oh, absolutely. I don't see those as like conspiracy theories more than facts waiting to be proven. Anything about the government that someone says, I almost will entirely believe at this point. The shit we learn about 30 years after the fact, I'm like, yeah, this is a shit that's waiting to be proven.
So when you look at Q-SIPs, it'll show you where on the classification of you are. The farther down the alphabet, the higher you are on the watch list.
Well, like MK Ultra is like a big thing that happens to be true. Like a lot of the experiments that they've done on people, like the Tuskegee, the Tuskegee one, where they gave people like syphilis and shit, and
the lower on the alphabet, the beginning means you are more likely to be enfranchised. You were more unveiled in the deception of the American dream, which is to go to work and keep doing things and not know about the bottom of the queue and what's happening to those people.
The separation between the rich and poor is getting larger and larger. Globalization has meant the exploitation of the global South and the indigenous peoples there.
I like to start with a really broad questions. Like, what do you think of the political landscape?
Oh, I want to say I'm neutral with the political thing. And I say I'm neutral because I'm a Christian. I already voted. I already know that it's going to take Christ in order to fix anything. Even if they fix a little bit of things, no one can fix death, And so my vote is for Jesus Christ. When he comes, that's when everything that everybody's wanting to fix, whether it's health care, whether it's food, starvation, whether it's war, crime, and like I said, death. Jesus can fix all that. He showed us a little bit of that when he walked the earth, and so just that little bit, he's going to do it on a grand scale. So we have that to look forward to. So the political stuff, I don't get involved with. It is a mess though. And as far as what I'm seeing on the news, it looks messy.
A few more questions kind of in that general category. In what direction do you think the country is heading? How would you project the future? Optimistic, pessimistic, that kind of thing?
I'm optimistic because, we share so much ideas and good ideas. And we share so much kindness that it really helps the darkness that goes on for our country.
I think it is mostly moving in a negative direction, and I am more pessimistic about the direction it's going.
I feel like we are in such an actually unpredictable precipice of something that it's really just holding on to you're seeing and hoping for the best. It also offers a lot of hope that online there is a very prominent leftist space. It's not just Tumblr anymore. It's most social media. You will find people who aren't it's not an anomaly to see someone who's very radical.
What direction do you think America is heading as a country?
One that is very involved in social media, very dystopic, very people idolizing other people instead of being religious, people fighting, people being very isolated from one another, being scared of diseases, not relating to each other socially or properly. Yeah, I don't think we're, in a good way right now at all.
My father calls himself, he's 93 years old, a 93-year-old politician, and he says he's a radical optimist. I'm not quite that radical in my optimism, but I believe, like he does, that if we work together for the right causes, that this country can do just about anything. And it's been proven over and over again. We find ourselves in a really hard place right now, but we found, and I don't know why I get emotional talking about it. Maybe it's because this is what my father says, and he's 93. But we've been in hard places before. We've been in wars. We've been in a Great Depression and had tremendous leadership during those times to pull us out of those hard times. Very people-oriented, very caring governmental policies. And we can keep doing that.
I think the least violent would be a balkanization of the country. I'm not sure if I'm all for that, but if the country were to be divided into regions, it wouldn't hurt. Be a little bit more, or almost like an abolishment of federal government, and be more like the European Union in a way, where each area has a way to control its own monetary policies and their own imports and exports and everything, without a large oversight.
Me personally, I feel like the way society is going, we're going to wind up crashing. I mean, as far as history goes, we're still the youngest country in the nation, in the world. But if you look at history, China fell when they were like 300 years the first time.
Obviously, the I guess the darker edge of that would be an all-out civil war. Who knows what's going to happen or where it's going to go? But I don't see it ending well. Empires generally last around 250 years before they collapse, and we're not too far away from that.
I just hope that I don't see a big civil war before I die, or before my kids. If you go based off of history, it does seem like it's happening, like it's going that way. Even if it is just technically, or like a technical war that we're having, there is a battle going on.
We're living during the fall of Rome, and everybody's so amused by the bread and circuses, they don't see it happening.
Trying to think about maybe what the biggest problems are to you. I like to ask the question, like, let's say magically somehow you were in charge of the country tomorrow. What would you do first? What things would you try to address?
Oh, one thing that I've seen that I've made a strong push for is this inclusivity in terms of language. There's this term founding fathers. I've had to edit that down to founders. So separate the family dynamic from the government.
I would crack down on the number of AI deepfakes and a lot of the misinformation coming from AI or other foreign agencies manipulating the zeitgeist of the nation. I think there's a lot of it. There's a lot of fake news.
Also separating gender from professions. So for instance, I still see cameraman listed a lot in things when it should be camera operator. So I'm very cognizant of trying to change the language around certain things because that affects how people see themselves and just kind of brainwashing of people, really.
You're going to see it. Go on YouTube, look at a commercial. There used to be Charmin ads or like the new diaper brand ads, right? Or like a baby toy ads. Now there are ads about someone with a deep fake voice telling you how to get rich quick, right? And he's not even real. He's telling you how to get rich quick.
Well,
I feel like all of the wars that are happening right now are horrible. So if I could magically do something, I would like make that stop.
Foreign policy is something that's very, very complicated, obviously. As much as we would just want a ceasefire now for, any of the genocides going on in this world, again, not just in Palestine, but especially in Palestine, we also, there's other countries with other interests. Ideally, we could start to put our foot down more because despite having allyships, the U.S. is still like the big boy, the big bully of the entire world. Our army could probably crush China if they tried hard enough and got access to the nukes before, any of these other countries were like, well, fuck it, I don't want to be a bitch. So on that front, yeah, being more of the bully, but in the good way.
If you were suddenly somehow in charge tomorrow, what would you address in the country?
I would
Wait,
not be. I would definitely not be in charge. I would be like, let's get together and fucking like try to figure it out, as much as we can.
Really, you can't do much. I mean, it's not that I would do anything or change. I would try to educate. Really, I think that's what's really going bad with Americans today.
Obviously, investing into education, healthcare. As much as I am not necessarily banning guns, I'm banning all guns. I want all of them in the trash. Obviously, immediately, big oil is going to be small oil. They will be taxed into fucking oblivion, as well as billionaires. So, a lot of that, yeah, that would be easily the first things.
But it's like it doesn't like just come down to legislation. It's just like, to me, it would just take decades and decades to change how people care about one another. There's just like a lack of empathy, and I don't know how you like instill empathy as a leader.
I would listen to people. I would try to pay attention to what actual people with real life issues and actual regular jobs, how they think and feel and what they have to go through.
I would set up places where you could feed people. When you're drunk and you're an addict and you're on the street and you're hungry and you don't have nothing, sooner or later you want to eat something. Nobody wants to see you. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to trust you. And probably because you're dirty. You know what I mean? If you're dirty, I don't care what town you're in, they're not going to help you. So you got to get clean. You got to get clean shit. You got to get a haircut. You got to do all this. And you know what? Hope to God that you can get some relief. I'm saying 2 or 3 days would change a person's life, even one day. Treat somebody 3 meals in one day, give them clean clothes, shower, and ask them, what do you want to do with your life?
The first couple of things, I really don't know. That's a good question because I never thought about that. What would I do? I think I would make everybody by law just wake up that morning and give whoever's in your home a hug, because I think everybody today need a hug. Because there's so much. I think people just things that we just don't do no more that we took for granted. Like with our families and having family time, saying I love you. Those are things I think if everybody just displayed the love, then everything else will fall in place. So I think I would probably make some kind of law or rule up that you got to do that.